Good morning, respected directors of the Penguin Books Publishing Company. My name is Janvier Bell from the Noof Noof Solution Company in Paris. Our company recently received a request from the Penguin Books to devise a method to alleviate the current poor sales of the book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey. The illustrators in our design department have pondered over the reason behind the poor sales performance of this book, and after months of consumers' research, we concluded that it is because of the unattractive book cover. As everyone sitting here will be aware, the current book cover was designed in 2004, and there was no further updates since then. The fonts and the images adopted to this book cover is very vague, and it is extremely hard to predict what the book is actually about. The message that it conveys is unclear, and in a rapidly digitalizing society, teenagers and young adults, who are the main target audience of this book, will not simply pick up the book and read the first few chapters unless there's a very tempting element that influences them to do so. They are highly attracted to visual images, and we must target this aspect of the new generation of teens. So, how are we going to persuade them to read our book? We must remember that they are highly attracted to visual images, and we must target this aspect. I suggest redesigning the book cover to garner the attention and interest of our target audience. We must be explicit with what the book is trying to communicate, but on the meanwhile, we should avoid disclosing the key plots in the book. In order to do so, we must visualize metaphors and multiple symbols that appear in the book, and we must implicitly illustrate the key themes and messages that the author tried to communicate. And today, I brought this book cover designed by the French art genius Mr. Jae Kim. The use of stylistic techniques in this book cover will result in convincing our target market to purchase this book. I'll hand the mic to Jay so that he can explain his artwork to us. Merci beaucoup, Janvier. Bonjour, everyone. I'm personally a big fan of Ken Kesey, and I'm a person who've also studied his book One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest back in high school. I tried my best to reflect his thoughts and messages that he tried to communicate when he was alive. Let's first talk about the animals that I've adopted for this design. If you look carefully uh, at the top portion, you'll realize that the rabbit and the wolf is fiercely staring at each other. This is a direct reference to Randall McMurphy, who constantly antagonizes Nurse Ratched and upsets the routines of the ward, leading to endless power struggles between the inmate and the nurse. According to my memory of the book, he runs a card table, comments on Nurse Ratched's figure, incites the other patients to conduct a vote about watching the Ward series on television. These are all key scenes that appears in the book that shows the power struggle between the nurse and McMurphy. Obviously, as a book designer, I was not able to put in all of those elements into the book cover, but I believe that the composition and placement of a big rabbit and a big wolf facing each other will assist the readers to have a sense that there is a conflict between these two opposing figures. Moreover, I can already assume that you are questioning the reason why I've drawn rabbits and wolf instead of humans that actually represents the respective characters in the novel. This is because Cassie used animals to symbolize the demeanor and personalities of the various ward patients, as well as how they are oppressed by Nurse Ratched. There are a few quotes that I still remember from the book, and one of them is, "All of us here are rabbits of varying ages and degrees, happily hopping throughout Walt Disney World, and we need a good strong wolf like the nurse to teach us well." The animal imagery um, here that I've adopted demonstrates the power structure existing in the mental institution and mirrors the authoritarianism in the word. To be more specific, the wolf which is a metaphorical expression of Nurse Ratched, as the word leader and highest figure of authority who the patients refer to as the big nurse. And the big wolf is an animal that is very intelligent but feared in all of the world. Similarly, Nurse Ratched is the authoritative figure in the world, known for feeding off others' weaknesses and using her power to emasculate the weaker acutes, which are depicted by the intimidated rabbits at the bottom of the cover. She sometimes employs physical force, such as shock treatment, as you can see expressed by the lightnings at the very top of the book cover, or lobotomy, and other tactics to ensure that the men are always acting in a submissive, despondent way that makes them easier to control. These aspects are expressed through the wolf and rabbit type of prey and predator relationship, but also through the positioning of the wolf at the top and the small rabbits at the bottom. As if it's a pyramidal structure, it is apparent that there is a difference between the level where the wolf and the rabbits are positioned. The rabbits are at the bottom and the wolf is at the top. Also, the rabbits are afraid or anxious, locked in a confinement that looks like a jail. This demonstrates the power structure of the word and the corruption of a system founded upon the principles of individual thought and freedom, as it is apparent from the drawing that the word disregards and strips individuality of the members and locks them up. These adaptation of the animal imagery will enhance our readers' interest into the book, and the familiar, doll-like animal characters will allure our target audience to open the first page of our book. Now let's talk about the chains and gears that are drawn at the very bottom of the book cover. Just to briefly mention the intention behind bringing in the machine imagery, the word strives for compliance and rejects individuality and personality of the chronics. In the book, it is directly quoted that the word is a factory for the combine, where individual differences are perceived as mistakes needed to be fixed, making the patients become identical products and perfectly adjusted components to the machine. Therefore, through the use of gears, I recalled this machinery imagery and alluded to the audience to focus on which aspects of machines and factories are related to the book. This will add an additional layer of enjoyment and fun to our potential readers. While most patients fail to resist the oppression and becomes a machine that conforms to the society, Chief Bromden refuses to become a dehumanized product, and he creates himself an identity as a mean of passive resistance. He pretends to be deaf and dumb, which prevents him from participating in the therapy sessions organized by the nurse who he witnesses blowing up bigger and bigger. This way perceiving her true nature. This allows him to conserve the remains of his sanity and narrate the events with surprising clarity and accuracy. And I thought such image or secret of Chief Bromden must be introduced implicitly at the beginning of the book, which is the book cover. That's the reason why there's a man who's not an animal in the book cover, located at the very center. Literally everyone in the world are depicted as animals, as you can see, since they are dismissing the true reality or don't have a full picture of what's happening in the world. But there's only one figure who accurately observes the situation, and the man sitting on the green chair is the one, and he is indeed Chief Bromden. We cannot see his facial expression, so it's unable to predict his feelings or his thoughts, but he still, as you can see, is carefully and consciously observing the conflict between the Nurse Ratched, the wolf, and McMurphy, the big rabbit. Thus, again, my book cover is implicitly communicating that despite the oppression of identity and individuality in America, there were different forms of resistance to which it gave rise in the period of McCarthyism. And I believe that Cassie will be extremely happy that I've included such message at the book cover. Finally, the bird flying in the blue sky, as you can see, is drawn at the background of the book cover, and it represents that the acutes will be freed from restraints. Like a bird, the acutes eventually breaks the shackle and leaves the cage that confined them. McMurphy escaped the restraint in the form of death,
and Chief Bromden physically escaped the institution to regain his freedom. So the bird breaking the shackle that tied it to the gear can be interpreted as a foreshadowing that the Chronics will escape the mental institution and turn into a man with courage and will to live a free life. I think that this also successfully communicates one of Cassie's message to the American society to realize the power of anonymity and the capability to reform the society and overthrow the McCarthyistic practices in order to fix the fractured American society to enjoy the freedom to the fullest. And I believe that the readers will very much enjoy um, finding these hidden meanings in the cover as they go through the book. There are other fun elements, such as the fonts that are used, but I'll explain those elements after signing our contract. I hope that all respected directors here are impressed with the book design, and I can guarantee for sure that this design will assist us for achieving our purpose of appealing to the teens and increasing our sales revenue. I'm open for any special request or amendments to the current design, and as soon as the payment is completed, I'll make sure to transfer all my rights for this design to the Penguin Book Company. Thank you very much.